Hello and welcome to the Holistic interview series by Holistic Hounds. My name is Morgan Fitzgerald, and I'm a holistic dog groomer and animal Reiki practitioner, originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and currently located in Central Oregon. Today we have Caroline Moss of Bentley and Bear Holistic Dog and Cat Grooming. Welcome, Caroline.
Hi, Morgan. Nice to see you.
So please tell us more about you and what services you offer animals.
Okay, so my name's Caroline. I'm 51 and I'm probably considered quite a newbie groomer. I've only been grooming for 4 years. And yeah, I offer holistic cat and dog grooming services. I'm a FEARFEES certified practitioner and also have a low stress handling certification.
Okay, awesome. So tell us more about how you began your journey as a pet groomer.
Okay, so I was having a bit of a tricky time in my personal life and I felt a bit, I don't know, off kilter. And I went to see a lady thinking I needed some Reiki. She happened to be a shamanic healer. She offered me, she thought Reiki perhaps wouldn't be strong enough for what I needed. So she did a shamanic healing session on me, which was it was life-changing for me, but it was very profound, quite an experience. And she, at the end of it, she said to me, "You're here to help the animals." And it just totally resonated. It just felt right. And I said, "Well, actually, I have been thinking about doing a dog grooming course." And she went, "You must, you must." And that was it. And then there was no turning back. I was very driven and focused, and that was what I had to do. And that's how I started.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds like it was quite the divine connection between you and the shamanic healer.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, she's an amazing lady.
So, what does holistic mean to you?
So obviously, we all know the meaning of the word holistic. It means whole. But in terms of grooming, for me, I don't just consider the aesthetics of a groom. That's secondary to me. To considering the emotional well-being of the animal that I'm working with, not rather than on. So yeah, that's what it means to me.
So, what made you want to offer holistic services rather than more traditional?
So I did a City and Guilds training course, and I guess before even going back before that, I'd always had bulldogs my whole life, and I got an English Bull Terrier, and she was a whole different ball game, and I had to take her to a trainer, and my time spent with that trainer I guess it made me feel a little uncomfortable, but because she was a very strong, willful dog, his method of training was something I wouldn't do in a million years now. But back then, I didn't know any different. You know, she would pull on the lead, and he would yank her, and I hate myself now for having put her through that. I actually feel like I traumatized my own dog, but I didn't know any different. So then when I entered the grooming environment, it's always taught that for safety, you must put the restraints on, the neck noose, belly strap if needed. The dogs are told no constantly if they're fidgeting or spinning on the table, and it made me feel uncomfortable. It's something inside. It just didn't sit right with me. So I then, I think I was coming towards the end of my training, and I was watching a webinar about Tellington T-Touch, and the presenter said that his dog groomer didn't use restraints, and I was like, "What? Sorry, you don't use restraints?" We're always taught to use them. So I was like, "Who is your dog groomer?" And I messaged her, I thought there is another way. There isn't. I just knew it inside of me. It's hard to describe. I knew there was another way. And then Obviously, I qualified. I set up business straight away on my own, but I just knew that I didn't feel comfortable grooming in quite the same way that I'd been taught. And yeah, but once I've got my own business, I could do it my way. So obviously, with a lot of research and more studying, and I found, a lot of like-minded people. And actually, 4 years ago, it was, people were saying, holistic grooming, don't be ridiculous. How on earth can you make a dog stand on a table, stand still, and, not use restraints? But you absolutely can, So, yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about the things that you offer that most other pet care professionals might not?
Well, I work from home, as you can probably see in the background. So obviously I'm one-to-one, which I know some other groomers do. I do work from my home environment. So dogs are groomed in my bath, which I guess might help um, guardians when they're grooming their pets at home, because they're used to the bathtub. I offer, I have calming music playing. Yeah, and obviously, and I offer the holistic practices that I've learned about. So, where I live, although there are holistic practitioners, you know, they're not on my doorstep. There aren't any on my doorstep that I know of anyway. And although it is becoming more and more popular and the methods are becoming a lot more mainstream, I think I'm still quite niche for where I am.
Absolutely. So, what would you say is the most common sensitivity you see with the animals you work with?
Well, I guess probably every groomer will say the same. Probably feet handling, nail clipping. Um, but I always try and teach an alternative. So I'll always talk to guardians about scratchboard training. So I offer that as a service if it's needed. I don't, I don't use hammocks. I don't force dogs to do things they don't want me to do to them. So I look at other options. Scratchball training seems to work for a lot of them. Otherwise I might refer back to the vet and say that the dog perhaps might need some sedation if the nails are really long and it's their feet are splaying and it's causing discomfort. Then I might refer back to the vet first, and then once they're cut, then they can come to me and then we can keep them at a more manageable length.
So, do you feel like that cats have the sensitivity with their paws as well for nail trimming?
Um, no, not quite the same. I think with cats, I think cats are different. If a cat doesn't want to be groomed, you know, there's there's no way you could well, I would certainly wouldn't force a cat to go through something it didn't want to do. What I do think is important for cats is that their nails are checked, because they do have claws that thicken, and I think a lot of people don't realise that. So they do need trimming in certain instances. Sometimes it is for my safety as a groomer, because they might lash out, and they're a lot more. Although they do have obvious body language, and they give you signals that they're not happy, sometimes they're a little bit less predictable than dogs, I would say, and they're quick.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
quick. Yeah. So I do think, yeah, I do think they definitely have sensitivities aligned with the dogs, as well. But I think dogs are far worse. Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you recognize the importance of keeping your own energy grounded and balanced when you're working with animals?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it'd be wrong of me to sit here and say I don't have a bad day. You know, we all get frustrated. We're all human. However, I think I'm naturally quite a calm and grounded person. I meditate every day, which was something I started in lockdown, um, which I think helps hugely. If I am, going through something personally, you can. offload and meditate, and you can keep calm. I definitely feel that energy, if I've got a bad energy about me, the dogs and the cats are going to know. I also think that the energy is a two-way thing. Sometimes I could be having a bad day and a dog comes in and they just, you can feel the love, and and it's reciprocated. They can end up making you have a really good day. So
Yeah, I love that.
I'll try not to bring my any bad energy into the groom room, but at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all human. We all
Right.
have off days.
Yeah, I think the dogs really understand that too. And
Yeah.
from my experience, it can go one of two ways. It can go the way you said, where they're like, they know you're in a bad mood, so they help you. And they're,
Mm.
less like if they're sensitive, they'll be like, okay, today's okay. But sometimes I've found in my experience, the dogs know that you're upset. So they try to remind you. They try to remind you so
Yeah.
that you can calm yourself. That's what
Yeah.
I've found in my experience.
Yeah. I don't, I am patient and calm. Everyone has always said my whole life, "Oh, you're so patient. You're much more patient than I am," and I get that from guardians all the time, which I guess is a strength of mine. But I don't want to get frustrated. I don't want to get frustrated with an animal.
Yeah, I think patience is the most important thing when it comes to working with animals, but especially with
Mm.
dog grooming.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And knowing when to stop.
My next question is, are you attuned to Reiki healing?
I am. So I have my level 2. So I can offer it, and I do offer it as a standalone service. I actually don't get that much call for it. I think perhaps I don't publicise it enough. Um, and if I think that I need to use it on animal, I always would get the guardian's permission first. And I have used it a few times, but perhaps not as much as I think I'd like to. But I think that goes back to we're talking about energy, and I think the energy exchange and the lightness and the love is it's there all the time. I don't know if I have to switch it up, you know, and pull the Reiki out of my sack of tools, although it's there and I love it, and I use it on myself sometimes. I perhaps don't use it enough with the animals. I don't know. Maybe I
Yeah,
should use
you
it
can
more.
always Reiki, you can always use more. So
Yeah,
the times where you have used Reiki with grooming, how has it helped?
I think it's calm. It's calmness. I think if that it's an exchange of energy. It's you could you feel it. You feel it. You know, you
Yeah,
feel it. And you know that the dog or the cat is feeling it too.
yeah,
It's a positive. It's a lovely thing.
it
It's a
is.
lovely thing.
Absolutely. So
Mm.
can you share a story with us of a time where you helped calm down an anxious animal?
I have a client, and if they watch this, I'm sure they won't mind me naming her. So the dog's called Kaya. She was a rescue, and she was very ill treated in a previous life. And she's very when she first came here, she trembled and she shook, and it was heartbreaking to watch. But now, I mean, and it took a lot of sessions with her, an awful lot. But now she comes in, I can complete a groom start to finish. I feel that she's happy with it. I guess she's an example of a dog that she's anxious, compliant, so she shuts down. So I think where a lot of people would perhaps miss that as the dog's just compliant, is easy to groom, but actually she's shut down, and it's that pains me as much as a dog that's visibly showing that it's anxious. But she's not like that anymore, and it is I loved seeing her, and she's a real success story. So I guess building up her trust in me, you know and when I see her now, it's lovely. Yeah, she's a lovely dog. Yeah.
Yeah. Trust is absolutely so important to help the dogs and cats to
Mm,
feel safer with their groomer and in their
yeah.
bodies.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. I think that's something I struggle. I struggle sometimes to get guardians on board with the length of time it can take for a dog to trust me. And also, I always offer a meet and treat before I groom any dog. And I think sometimes people think, oh, that's a bit strange. And some people, I don't always hear back from people that inquire, can you groom my dog? Well, would you like to come for a meet and treat? And this is what I do, and this is why I do it. And some people are 100% on board with that and love it from the get-go. And they really start to see the value in that service. But other people, it's not mainstream at the moment.
Yeah. And when
We
you're
get
working with those anxious dogs or the dogs that have a history of abuse, you really got to take that time because if you just
yeah,
start trying to groom them the first time you meet them, sometimes that just makes it harder to move forward with trust.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, what is your favorite part of your job?
Well, I guess my favourite part, in practical terms. So if we're going to talk practical, I I love giving dogs a facial. I think they really relax into it. You can see that they're enjoying it. That's the practical thing. But obviously, I think the thing I enjoy the most is those cases when they come in and it's sad to see them nervous, shaking, you know, visibly or shut down, like I was saying earlier. It's just as bad to see them in that state. But when you turn that around, that is so rewarding, and proof that this process really does work. I can't see that putting a restraint on and another one is going to help a dog to get over anything.
Right.
I can't see that. So I guess, yeah, it's really rewarding when you can turn something around, and you've done it in a kind way that respects that animal and its emotions, its feelings.
Yeah, I love seeing the
Mm.
transformations that dogs make. It's very empowering as a
Yeah.
human too, because then you can
Mm.
see that, like you said, that these methods do work and that taking
Yeah.
the time to get to know the animal and get them to feel more trustworthy, then they
Mm.
cooperate more and you can get more done.
Yeah. It's all about, I guess, going slowly at the beginning, but then as time goes on, it speeds up. It speeds up. Yeah.
Absolutely. So do you think that most people know what the word holistic really means?
I think people know what the word means. I think people know that holistic means whole. However, I mean, I knew that I wanted to call my business. I knew I needed that word in there somewhere. In terms of, it's obviously a much more, you know, common word within the grooming industry nowadays. Um, but I don't know whether everyone knows yet what holistic grooming is. But I think they know what the word holistic means.
Yeah,
You
that's a good
know.
way of putting it. I agree with you on
Yeah.
that.
Mm.
What would you say is the most important thing for pet parents to know?
I think. Okay. I think as a pet parent myself, I think one of the things that was a real eye opener for me, and that I think every pet parent should know about, is is behaviour and calming signals. I think are really important. I think we miss so much. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. Before I went down this path, I wouldn't have known that my dog licking his lips, he was showing me that he was anxious. the rolling on his back and showing me his belly. He might be eliciting a belly rub, but equally he might just be, feeling uncomfortable and not safe. I think the minute I started, learning about behaviour and calming signals in particular, once you see them, you can't unsee them. So then you develop this whole other level of understanding about what your pet is actually showing you. I think as humans, we don't deliberately ignore them. I just think we don't know, or some people don't know. Some people do, but I think once you see them, you can't unsee them. You know.
And I love that you brought up the shut down versus calmed down because I find that that's really common that people miss that,
Yeah.
especially within the conventional grooming industry.
Mhm.
For example, if a dog is severely anxious, a groomer might put a muzzle on that dog. And sometimes that'll put a dog into shutdown. But if you're not
Yeah.
really well versed in body language, then you might think that that shutdown is acceptance, but
Yeah.
really there's something
Compliance.
else going on underneath
Mm.
all of that. So I would agree. It's very important for pet parents to know these things as well as pet professionals.
Yeah.
What has been your biggest challenge as a pet care professional?
My biggest challenge, I guess it is I don't know. I guess it's getting the the guardians, the pet parents, the owners, whatever you want to call them, on. I think they do get on board, but I think they don't always have the same patience. They definitely don't have the same patience that I do. They tell me that all the time. So I get, and I want them to know that, you know, you might find it frustrating that your dog's come home and it's still damp, or I didn't trim all of its nails today, or they people might find that frustrating. So I guess my job is as much about educating the pet parent as it is about trying to groom their dog in a holistic manner. So I guess that's my biggest challenge. But once they're on board, it's happy days, and they're always singing my praises, and I get recommendations from them all. It's lovely. Yeah, I guess it's patience. I think that's
Yeah.
the challenging thing to teach. I'm not here to teach humans about patience. I'm here to work with their their pet. But I guess yeah, I guess. But as part of my job, I need them to understand.
Yeah, and I think
Why
that
I'm
ties
doing.
into with the getting the education about the body language and that sort of thing because I would agree with you. Sometimes it's the expectations that get in the way of progress. And I can from my perspective that sometimes the guardian's expectations for grooming kind of pushes pressure on me because I
Mm,
want to work on building trust and go at the animal's pace. But sometimes
mhm.
it's like, oh, I really want the nails done, or oh, I really want the sanitary trim, which
Yeah.
are important, absolutely are
Mm,
important. But
yeah.
it's not this immediate thing that needs tackled right away, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly that.
And so I
So I guess.
think that if we can kind of lower those expectations for both ourselves and for the pet guardians, that the
Mhm.
animals in our care would really appreciate it. And then
Benefit. Yeah.
down the road, we can do
Yeah.
more.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly that.
So my last question for you is if you could
Okay.
be any animal, what would it be and why?
Okay. I've been asked this before. So I knew what my answer was going to be straight away. So I would like, I guess, yeah, I think I would be happy being a dolphin. And the reason why is because, although they get older, they never lose the ability to play. And I think, and even in our job as groomers, play also plays a part in what we do. And I think it's beautiful that they never lose that joy, that childlike way about them. So that is what I'd be.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I didn't even think
Thank
about
you.
that as an option, but yeah, dolphins. They
Yeah.
absolutely have so much fun.
Exactly that. Why can't we all be more dolphin?
Okay, thank you so much, Caroline, for taking the
Oh,
time to do
okay.
this interview. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with the audience in regards to holistic grooming or just pet care in general?
Well, just if you can find a holistic groomer near to where you live, then search them out. There are more and more of us, um, popping up all the time. So I definitely think, I know that if I mean I've got short haired dogs that they don't even need their nail trimming. They're really easy. But I think if you've got a dog that needs grooming or a dog with any anxieties, then definitely seek out a holistic groomer.
And can you let everyone know where they can find you, either your website or your social media?
So I'm on Facebook, which is, I think it's at Bentley and Bear Dog Grooming, all one word. I'm also on Instagram, which is at Bentley.and.bear. So I'm there. I actually don't have a website at the moment. I don't know why. I'm too busy.
Mm. Thank you again, Caroline, for
My
taking your time
pleasure.
today.
Oh, been lovely to talk to you, Morgan. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.